ceremony. We're going to have a great time this afternoon. I want to have the pleasure of introducing spoken word artist, very talented young lady, Mariah Johnson.
Peace, everyone. Hope y'all feeling good. I'm not going to be up here for too long. Not even going to do a lot of talking. I just want to share. And I just hope that you let these words resonate with you in your spirit. So, yeah. I've always come to the realization that this world will not spoon feed me the knowledge I need to know. Not even through the cracks of a fork will they insist upon my cerebral strategy. I must collect my own place setting for a seat at the table, but that's perfectly fine with me. I prefer hand-selected books as my fine china, while my pen feeds the mouth of my mind. You see, to manifest change, I must write out all the ingredients my ancestors coined, all natural, some organic, but all authentic and planted in truth. All natural, some organic, but all authentic and planted in truth. Mainly from the community garden my people started, because I trust the people. This land ain't never birthed a creature so divinely ordained like we, community. We be the dinner guests who asked for recipes and later told down the rabbit hole it's a secret. So we come up from soil and run back to that garden and pluck fruits from our ancestors' grave. We commune with the spirits of the wind as they kiss our cheeks and our shoulders, and they say to us, we are the ones we have been waiting for. June Jordan and Alice Walker had to have known that we are the special ingredients to making things change, and although often deterred away to participate in a system that may beat us broken, we must fight. We must find glory in our voice and our vote, because truly, I tell you, we are the ones we have been waiting for. Thank you.
I want to give you a little bit of information about Rock the Vote. It's a community education and advocacy event. This rally was created to help raise awareness on the importance of voting and to increase voter turnout. Unfortunately, Montgomery County's 2018 primary election voter turnout was a low 19.07%. We are challenged to increase voter turnout in Montgomery County by 5% annually, but we can't do it alone. We greatly appreciate your support. This election, like all other elections, is critical. Therefore, it is imperative that we engage, educate, and empower voters to get out and vote. With that being said, it's time to meet the first candidate. Let me welcome to the stage Surrogate Thaddeus Hoffmeister for Richard Cordray, Governor.
All right, yes, as you can see, I'm not Rich Cordray, but I'm standing in for him today. He's a good friend of mine, so when he called me the other day and asked me to come down here, I was more than pleased. I'm just briefly going to give you some background information on Rich, and then talk about some of his policies, and then tell you why we're to vote. I'm going to do that all in 3 minutes, though. All right, okay, Rich Cordray, University of Chicago, JD, Supreme Court law clerk, former treasurer, former Attorney General of this state, and most recently, the Chief of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And believe you me, he made Donald Trump's life a living hell, all right? That's why he's no longer there. He's here campaigning across the state, and that's why he can't be there. He's campaigning across the state to become the next governor. Briefly talk about some of the key issues. I just want to briefly talk about education, all right? One of his primary objectives is furthering education, because we all know education is the way you move up in life. It is key and essential that education be made available to all. So, first and foremost, universal pre-K, all right? Every 5-year-old should be starting on an even playing field, all right? Those who are from affluent communities should have the same, those from the lesser affluent communities should have the same opportunities as those from the affluent communities. And that's what universal pre-K will do. Your brain is 90% developed by the time you are 5 years old, all right? If you don't get that early education, you already start behind the starting line, all right? You're already behind everyone else. He wants that. Another one I'm going to talk about, free community college, all right? Many communities around the country are offering free community college. That's how you improve your station of life, through education. Now, briefly, I want to talk about the upcoming election. You don't have to do any more than turn on the television and to see how important elections are. Just turn it on and watch. Is that the type of judge you want to appear before? Is he neutral? Is he fair? Is he impartial? He's already told you who he's lined up and supporting. That's not how judges should be. All right, that's not how judges should be. So not only are the candidates are the D's and R's in front of the name, but the judges are important. So vote all the way down the ticket. No drop-off when you vote. No drop-off, all right? And I know I'm speaking to the choir here on people who are voting, but you got to get your friends to vote. You got to get 5 of your friends to get out there and vote. It's essential. And when they say, I don't want to get involved, and they say, I don't want to vote, you know what they're saying? I approve the status quo. Because you are voting when you stay at home. They want you to stay at home. Do you know they were doing everything and anything to keep you from the polls? Look at the Secretary of State. They will try to strike the walls if you don't vote enough times. All right, the purge is real. You're voted. They're so scared of your vote, they will do anything to prevent you from voting. All right, intimidation and other tactics. All right, so voting is important. Grab your phone, grab your friends, let them know elections have consequences. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if you want more information, go to Ohio for more information on how to support the campaign.
Thank you very much. Rock the vote, rock the vote, baby. Hey, do it for your favor. Okay, next is the next candidate to speak. It will be Surrogate Melissa Rodriguez for Senator, Sherry Brown, U.S. Senator.
Well, obviously, my hair is better than Sherry. He's got that showing look usually. But my name is Melissa Rodriguez. I'd like to thank Neighborhood Rural Politics for the work that they're doing, and I'm proud to be here on behalf of Sherry Brown. I am a U.S. veteran, retired, military on right path, and I'm a native Californian, but now proud to call Dayton, Ohio my home. One thing I want to do is today is just talk to you a little bit about why I support Sherry, because I'm one of you here in the community, one of the constituents here. One of the things why I support Sherry, many different reasons, is his fight in the opioid crisis, particularly the CRIB Act. Now the CRIB Act, and for those of you who don't know, will be vital resources for infants that are born dependent to opiates. And there's a facility here called Bridget's Path that's doing a lot of vital work. So that's just one reason I support Sherry. I personally am a child of 2 parents that were addicted to opiates, so this means a lot to me in my community. But it just isn't about his issues. Sharon, it's about his values. A lot of us are working hard, and just working hard and making ends meet is not enough. Sharon will fight for us and make sure that all of us that are in struggle, all of Ohioans, get ahead. Some of the biggest things that he's fighting for is minimum wage, a living wage, and to close that gap that continues to be putting women and people of color at disadvantage. And he's fighting for strong paid family leave and allow Ohioans to grow and build a future for their children. Sherrod has spent his career bringing down the cost of health care. He supported the Affordable Care Act and today continues to fight for that. We need to fight, and Sherrod will fight for us, for people to be, that won't be denied coverage due to pre-existing conditions. Today he's working for Ohioans to build 21st century schools for our children so that they can feel safe and hopefully have a college education without drowning in debt. He has fought to make sure the workers, students, and retirees all have a chance and a voice in Washington. He has fought to make sure that we provide for ourselves to support our families when we retire in dignity and peace. He's investing in a brighter future for our kids and our communities and to build the economy that grows from the middle out. To make sure all Ohioans are accounted for and none are left behind in Washington or not accounted for during Wall Street. Thank you for being here today. I support Senator Brown, and I hope you do in November. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rock the vote. Rock the vote. Let me tell you why it's important to hear from each candidate about that's running, because it's important who they are, what they represent, and what's in it for you as a citizen and voter, and why they are the right person for the job. Each candidate, let me repeat, I don't know if I said it, or surrogate, has 2 to 3 minutes on their platform to express their views. With that being said, we'll start with the next one, Teresa Glasper, representative to Congress, 10th District.
Hi everybody, I'm Teresa Gaspard. I'm keeping it real for you today. I spilled water all over myself to make a good impression. I'm born and raised Dayton, Ohio. I love this town. I'm running because I care too much to sit on the sidelines anymore. I'm a small business owner. My husband and I have been able to achieve the American dream, and we wanted to make sure that the ladders are dropped so everybody in this room has the opportunity for the same. We're not the type that want to pull it up behind us and hoard it. So I am running, like I said, because I care too much. I feel like we have an incumbent that is focused exclusively on Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which is hugely critical and important to our community as well as our national security, but it has to be a situation of both and. We need a vibrant, thriving community, and that starts with higher wages, it starts with universal, affordable health care for everybody, and we all deserve opportunities for ourselves, our kids, and our grandkids. I have my first grandbaby due any day now. And I know at some point she's going to look at me and say, Mom or Grandma, what was going on back then and what did you do? And I want to make sure I've got a good answer for her. So I'm not running for U.S. Congress for me, I'm running for you. If you are in any part of Montgomery County, Greene County, or the little bit of Fayette, that includes Washington Courthouse, you're in my district, and I want to be your voice. I believe at a very basic human level, people want to be heard, they want to be seen, and they want to be understood. I feel like our incumbent is great at burning bridges, and I like to build them. I want to find middle ground, I want to represent you. Oh boy, there's so many more things I can say, but let's talk about voting. A lot of people feel like a vote doesn't matter, and it's not true. And if you think that not showing up doesn't matter, we're trying to clean up a huge mess right now with Donald Trump. This whole row is filled with people who are just 2 rows. How many rows do we? 3 rows. How many rows of candidates do we have? There are so many excellent people running, and we are all bound by one thing. We love this community, we love our state, we love our country, and we love our democracy. And our democracy is under threat. And it will only survive if we, the people, stand up and make our voices heard. We have surrendered the microphone to a very vocal minority who do not represent our views. And it's time for the rest of us to find our voices and grab control of the mic and speak up and speak out. And if you've watched anything with the Kavanaugh hearings this week, it is obvious we need new leadership in D.C. and we need women at the table. friends, if you have hug time, throw them in the back of the trunk or the trunk, whatever it takes, but get out to those and support if your life depends on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's show some love to Rock the Vote sponsors. I want to give a shout out to Africana Elders Council, Sinclair Community College, of course, McDaniel Construction, Columbus, Ohio, Delta Sigma Theta, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, The Next Wave, DEFA, Dayton Individual for All, and Alpha Phi Alpha. All right. Thank you. Just to note also that Neighborhood Over Politics organization is a not-for-profit. Therefore, they are not supporting any particular candidate or persuading others to vote any particular political party or issue. Next up is Regina Holman, surrogate for Congressman Mike Turner.
Good afternoon, rock the boat. Rock the boat. My name is Regina Holman, and I'm here. It is my honor today to bring you greetings on behalf of your Congressman, Mike Turner. Today, I just want to make you aware of a few things. It has always been my privilege in America to take my vote seriously. I encourage you to do the same. Make sure to vet every person that receives your vote. Research the issues when no means no and when yes means yes. And I'm just going to leave you with this little reminder. To one person, you may be the world. But to the world, you may be one. Your vote counts. Vote.
Rock the vote, thank you. Also to the sponsors, I want to also thank NAACP Youth Council, Northwest Priority Board, Urban Citizens for Social Justice, For Our Future Ohio, members of the Pan-Hellenic Council, thank you very much. Thank you. Next up is Surrogate Renee Abney for Melody Stewart, Justice of the Supreme Court.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I am here on behalf of Judge Melody J. Stewart, 2018 candidate for the Ohio Supreme Court.
All right.
Melody apologizes for not being able to be here today. She is campaigning right now elsewhere in the state. But I'd like to share a little bit with you about her and invite you to take a campaign card from the table outside before you leave. And she's got a website, which is stewartforohiosupremecourt.com. And on it, you can get information about her. You can donate or volunteer to help support her campaign. Judge Stewart is a native Ohioan. She was born and raised in Cleveland. We actually went to high school together and college. We were college roommates. And she's also the godmother of 3 of my children. So I know her very, very well and can assure you that she is an excellent, excellent candidate for this position. Judge Stewart earned her undergraduate degree from the College Conservatory of Music in Cincinnati, Ohio. And she earned her Juris Doctorate from the Cleveland Marshall Law School, as well as a PhD in social science from Case Western Reserve University. She's over 30 years of judicial experience. Legal experience, I'm sorry. She started as a civil defense litigator, was a law professor of ethics, a law school assistant dean, and included in that are 11 years as an appellate court judge in Cleveland, Ohio, on the 8th District Court of Appeals. She has actually sat before by assignment of the Chief Justice on the Ohio Supreme Court as a visiting jurist. She is very well qualified. Judge Stewart is running to help restore balance to the Supreme Court, which is currently comprised of 7 judges who are all of the same party. Regardless if they were Democrats or they happen to be Republican, it's not fair for 7 jurists on the Supreme Court, the highest court in our state, to be all of the same persuasion. So she is running to help restore that balance. And she believes that there needs to be diversity of thought, background, intellect, and experience on the court, and she's able to bring that. Her opponent would simply maintain the status quo. Judge Stewart also helps to bring reforms to the judicial system, knowing that cases tend to languish way too long, and some citizens don't have equal access to the judicial system. There's also a lack of transparency in some judicial proceedings, and she will work to improve our judicial system as a whole. I wanted to also make note that she has received the highest score of all candidates running for the Supreme Court, and she is highly recommended by the Ohio State Bar Association. She also wants to remind everyone, as has been iterated before, not to skip the judicial candidates, because a lot of people do, and you have to realize that the Supreme Court decisions affect everyone. So please vote for Judge Stewart for the Ohio Supreme Court on November 6th. Thank you.
I'd like to give a shout out to Sigma Gamma Rho in the house. And Dayton Urban League, thank you. The next candidate to speak is Paul Bradley, State Senator, 5th District.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for taking some time out on a Saturday to be here and to talk to us and just to be engaged this year, which I think is a hugely critical year. My name is Paul Bradley. I live in Dayton, Ohio with my wife. I'm your Democratic candidate running for Ohio's 5th State Senate District. I spent about 6.5 years working for Senator Sherrod Brown as his regional representative for Southwest Ohio. And the number one critical thing I think I learned from him more than anything else, and it wasn't even political, was about what it means to be a representative and what it means to run for office, and what it should mean for anybody any one of our candidates who are up here today, including myself. You know, this is about service to your community. This is about investing in your community, and that's what I think the roots of an elected official should be, and what we're trying to bring that back to. To me, I think that there's a lot of issues that we can work on in this state. I think we've heard a little bit about education, and I think out of all the issues, that's one that's most near and dear to my heart. And I know that we have public schools here in Dayton, and in Trotwood, and all around the 5th District that have challenges. And you know, I think as a state, we have to be a better partner to our local communities and to our local school districts. We have to change the way that we look at funding to make it more equal and fair. And these are things that we've known about for decades and have chosen to do nothing about. My wife and I, we have the opportunity to work and volunteer at an after-school program in Hilltop on the west side. And the reason I bring that up is because every single day I meet with these kids, and we've been working with them for a couple years now. They're facing different challenges every single day that most of us in this room can't even imagine. You know, we have kids who are playing kickball in sandals and are feeling self-conscious about that, so they make fun of other kids to deflect. We have kids who are getting in trouble trying to steal a loaf of bread because they're 11 years old and they're in charge of taking care of and feeding their younger siblings. You know, these are the challenges and the realities for so many people in our community and our neighborhoods that I think we have to work towards addressing. You know, we had a candidates night with the NAACP here recently, and the first question we got was about how does your work with the community impact how you want to be effective as an elected official. And you know, I share that story because I think to be effective as an elected official, you have to be invested in your community. You have to understand the challenges your community are facing, and you have to work to achieve those, to move the needle in the right direction. That's what I'm promising to do for you every single day. To me, it's less about the politics of the campaign and more about the work of being in office and getting things done. I think right now in Columbus we have a lot of dysfunction. I think there's a lot of communities around the state that don't feel like their voice is being heard, and that has to change. That's why this election, and that's why this type of work is so valuable. I always tell people, Sharon kind of has that kind of rough voice, right? But you don't have to have the most beautiful voice to be a strong voice to stand up for your community. And I also tell this too, I have a terrible singing voice, but as a group, any choir can sound beautiful when it's made up of enough people. And that's what I'm telling you right now. Your one voice is strong, but it's even stronger when it's united with everybody else. So get your friends out to vote, get your family out to vote, tell them why it's so critical, and make sure that you do rock the vote this year and make the change in your community that you want to see. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next candidate is Mr. Steve Huffman, running for State Senator, 5th District.
Thank you very much. I am Steve Huffman. I'm a state representative from the 80th District. I've been there for 4 years. I want to apologize for my dress. I was out walking in a parade today, went to another event up in Upper Valley for their 20th anniversary, but I started my day. I'm the team physician for a high school here in Dayton. I come down a Saturday morning after a football game and provide free medical services to these kids that probably wouldn't be able to get health care if they didn't. I am the only MD ever elected to the General Assembly of the state of Ohio. I live with my wife Catherine and my 5 children. 4 of them are in college. I have one that goes to high school here in Dayton. I've spent 1.5 years overseas in the missions. As people have said before, life is about service, in my opinion. And that's what I live my life is with service to others. I continue to practice medicine. I used to be county coroner. I was the guy that went to the house and found the person with the needle in their arm after an opioid epidemic, and that they died of a heroin overdose. And I still practice emergency medicine, and I'm the guy that gives them Narcan. So this opioid epidemic is very, very personal to me. That I see it when I go to the emergency room, and I've seen it for the last 25 years that I practice medicine. My other thought is education. We need to get education. We need to get the funding right. We need to get people educated in the right way so that they can provide for themselves. I'm running to do that. That's what I've done for the last 4 years in the General Assembly. And I agree. Everybody needs to get out and vote. Vote for up and down the ticket for whatever way you want. And I agree. Vote for the judges. So I appreciate your time today from everybody. And thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure and honor to welcome local artist Yellow Pains to the stage.
How everybody doing tonight? It's a pleasure to be in front of y'all. I love the cause that this is. And I want to just tell y'all a little story. It's a poem, so I just want y'all to listen closely. These words are very deep. Here we go. So it's a girl named Sarah looking for cash. Because she tired of paying bills, life crooked and bad. She decided to rob a bank. She put on a mask, grabbed the strap, hopped in the wagon, put her foot on the gas. Down Main Street, flying on the way to the bank, thinking maybe I could get some juice for my baby. She should have thought twice. It was late night, 8 p.m. and the bank wasn't open on Sunday. So Monday she went back strapped on a hunt saying, one day I'm gonna make myself rich one way, put out a corner store on the floor on the runway was a newspaper with a 50 stuff on the front page. She said, that's chunk change, I gotta get dumb paid. Pop the trunk and got a gun from under some lunch trays. Slammed the trunk shut, then into the front way of the corner store with a scrunch face. Jumped straight in front of a man with a gun in the hand. She said, where the cash at? You know I wanted the man. He said, please, I only got a couple of grand to live off of. I'm broke, could you just understand? She said, get off the floor, y'all. I want you to stand. Sympathy ain't give me, so put the bucks in my hand. I know exactly how you feel, and I'm stuck in the sand. Should've did the same thing as me a month in advance. Now the little corner store man stuck in the glance and he's staring around in the pants like he wanted to dance. Then he said, oh, I remember that voice, them pants all quite familiar. Then she said, what you talking about? He waited and a circle of light popped out his mouth. Then she said, circle of light, what you trying to get out? He said, you of all people got lost in the drought. She said, you don't know me, you just trying to distract me so I can start thinking that you trying to get past me. She cocked the gun back and started popping it fastly. The people in the store started running like athletes. She said, the people in the store started running like athletes. She said, the story's over. I got a mouth to feed. You better hand something over. You about to bleed. He said, you wouldn't do it. She said, you doubting me? I'm so serious. Now listen, I'm going to count to 3. 1, wait. Can you listen? 2, oh, just please pay attention. Okay, let's say Sarah, wait, what, did this? Don't just say, yeah, I know all of your business. Listen, Sarah Milligan, you was on top of the world, whatever you asked your parents got for you. But you just wanted to be more popular or experience what other girls did. Why? Because you wasn't allowed to run through the town. You had to wait till you was older, but you wanted it now. Went from no struggle to a buggable child that need diapers, so now you gotta hustle around. She said, how'd you know that? You scared me, man. Are you God? Not at all, just a man in a van. You know? Them the same black pants you wore to homecoming. I joined you there for your mom's inner-road husband. Your mom tell me all the time how she wish you would come back home because she love you when she miss you. She said, I didn't even know that they still care. Look at me trying to rob stores on welfare. I'm so sorry, could you tell me where they live at? I got so much to say when I get back. A crazy life, she never wanted to live that. She reached in for freedom, but she pulled out a mishap. Put your hands in the air, you're surrounded. The cops came and Sarah was astounded. She said, cops, this was a fake robbery. You can ask the man that I was robbing, honestly. Then the cop said, what fake robbery does an innocent bystander get shot with 3 bullets? Now, did you honestly care? And Sarah said, you're wrong, sir. I just shot in the air. Then the cop said, stupid, have you ever heard of ricochet? Look up, it's a brick ceiling, only 6'8". You should have practiced. You shot at an angle. First 2 hit his hand, 3rd shot hit his ankle. Trust me, we got it all on camera, miss. I bet Sarah wasn't honestly expecting this. Soon as she thought about getting it right, she was too far in and got sentenced for life. I just performed that to give y'all a little bit of insight. It was inspired by some realistic situations that have and are happening in our community. Just to let y'all know that our consequences do have action. So hopefully with everybody at this voting rally, hopefully, you know, y'all actions is to vote and vote for the right people, and y'all, and the results of that can hopefully stop things like this from happening and people from going down similar paths. I appreciate everybody for paying attention. My name is Yellow Payne. Thank you.
And with that being said, we'll start the next round for candidates. Foley, State Representative, 43rd District.
Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for having me here. My name is Dan Foley. I'm running for the 43rd District for the state legislature. It's Northwest Montgomery County and all Preble County. I want to point to the word neighborhood here, right there. Because as a county commissioner, I've tried to spend my time on some projects that I think that are not getting enough attention. I was a co-chair of the Hope Center, which is the United Theological Seminary, the project that Omega Baptist Church is trying to redevelop on Salem Avenue. And about 2 weeks ago, they unveiled a $13 million project for senior housing there. These projects take a long time. Sometimes they take longer than we want, but with community leadership and a lot of great people around the table, we can get those done. I'm also leading the charge on North Main. We hired a consultant to do a master plan for Forest Park Plaza. Many of us who kind of grew up in this area know that at one point in time Forest Park was thriving, and I'm going to try to continue whatever role I have to keep pushing that. I've also used my my position and hopefully my any time I have. I've asked Good Samaritan Hospital not to bring the wrecking ball to that property until we can take somebody in who can help us figure out which parts of that campus we can reuse. I think it's so important because I think it's wasteful to knock that place down, and I think we can use some of that campus for healthcare and other uses. So I say that to you. Lastly, thank you. Lastly, I'm going to go to Columbus and work on two things. I want to keep Medicaid expansion. More than half the people in Montgomery County only have Medicaid as the only benefit they take. That means they work in jobs they don't get paid enough, or they work in jobs that don't offer health insurance. We need to keep Medicaid. And then I also want to be a champion for mental health reform. My name is Dan Foley. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Neighborhood Over Politics, for organizing this event to keep us informed. Thank you very much. Next would be Phil Plummer, State Representative, 40th District. Not here. Zach Dickerson, State Representative, 42nd District. Gerald Parker.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Gerald Parker. Thank you. I'm running for Montgomery County Common Pleas Court. I'm just here to tell you that there's only two reasons why I'm standing here on this stage today. One is access, two is opportunity. I got access at an early age to education, and I got the opportunity now to be running for Montgomery County Common Pleas Court judge. My career started as a Montgomery County prosecuting attorney, prosecuting every felony level from the 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s. And then as well, after that, I went into private practice, Dr. Garofalo, Mann, and Schultz, doing civil practice as well. There's two types of law, most of y'all know, criminal and civil, and I had both of those experiences over 10 years in the Montgomery County Common Pleas Court. The attorneys know me, the judges know me. Now I'm a magistrate judge in juvenile court, and it's unfortunate when you see the adults that I prosecuted, and then you see their younger brothers and sisters and their kids in front of you right now. And again, it is about access and opportunity. When I was a prosecutor, I did open up doors for young men, particularly African American men and women, to see from my perspective when I walked in as a prosecuting attorney. Additionally, as a private practitioner working with individuals to get their records sealed and expunged because of the compassion that I have, particularly as well for our older African American men, to give them that opportunity as well. And now as a magistrate judge, working as a CrossFitter. I'm a weird CrossFitter. I love working out. I love working with our next generation, because if y'all think the problems that we see with the adults that we see right now are hitting y'all to the heart, when do you see what happens in the next 5 years? I don't think you have any idea what this next generation is about to get hit with in 5 years. I'm seeing it right in front of me. Last thing, it's very important to know that our court, Montgomery County Common Pleas Court, has never had an African American male serve in the Montgomery County Common Pleas Court. However, we have nothing but more than half of the folks coming in and out of our court are African American. Okay? I'm going to tell you right now, one thing I want to tell you. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. Okay? If you're not at the table, if you don't have a seat at the table, then you are on the menu. And the problem is that we think that these issues are going to be resolved by just legislative issues. But at the end of the day, we're seeing maybe we should have known our judges a little bit more in the first place if you're watching what's going on with the confirmation hearings. So I'm here as well to let you know that not only am I the more qualified candidate, the more experienced candidate, the Dayton Bar Association gave me the highest rating amongst all the judicial officers when it comes to integrity, impartiality, professionalism, temperament, and legal ability. I received the highest scores amongst all of them because I'm actually and have been in those courts. So, that being said, I ask that you consider Gerald Parker for judge, so that way we can bring something new, bring something more, something different, and I can continue to knock down doors so that everyone is represented and that our court looks like the rest of this county. That is all. Thank you very much.
Jeff Resumek, Judge of the Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Division.
Thank you for having me again. I'm Jeff Resumek. I'm your Montgomery County Juvenile Court Judge right now. We are doing a lot of things in juvenile court to address many of the things that Gerald just talked about, because what we are is a court of action. We've seen too many times. I practiced law here in Dayton over 20 years. I've spent that time mostly in the criminal defense area and in juvenile court. Most people thought I already had an office there. I've been there so much. But I've been a guardian ad litem for over 20 years and trying to help kids move up and out of the system so that they can have a better life. And that's what I will continue to do. And that's what I have been doing as your juvenile court judge for the last 3 months. My judicial experience didn't start there. I was substitute magistrate in Montgomery County, Dayton Municipal Court for 3 years. So that experience does matter and how you get it. And I'm sitting there right now having kids come before me, and even adults come before us in juvenile court, trying to make a difference in their lives. And I'll tell you the kind of judge I am. My staff is wonderful. But one of the things that I learned is make sure that they express their views as well. And why is that? We recently had a case in front of my court in which one of my staff said, I think that's what the decision was early on in the case was wrong from a magistrate. Because this child, who was severely autistic, was placed out of home and into a bad facility. My court then got this young man back into his home. Actually, it should be right now. And it was done because we worked together. Montgomery County Children's Services, the court, the parents, their attorneys. It's what I'm about, collaboration. I also served as, and I just give you a little bit of history of why I think that's important. I was also state rep for the 43rd District. I left that when I got appointed to the juvenile court bench. I want you to take a look at my record and what I've done in the 43rd District and what I've tried to do to make sure everybody gets a chance. I work with Mary McDonald out there, Mayor in Trotwood, to make a difference not only in their community court system or their community center. We got them $250,000. And what was that? How did I do that? Crossing the line, making sure I talked with everybody and worked with everybody. I think that's important for a judge to continue to do. Be fair, be honest, straightforward, and that's how I am as a judge. I ask for your vote. I'm your Montgomery County Juvenile Court Judge, Jeff Resnick. Thank you.
Hey, rock the boat, rock your boat, baby. My sidekick right here, Dalton Beater. Let me shout out again to the Rock the Boat sponsors, Urban Citizens for Social Justice, Carlos Buford, League of Women Voters, Move to Amend, Delta Sigma Theta, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, The Next Wave, For Our Future Ohio, the NAACP Youth Council. Next candidate to hear from is Ms. Helen Wallace, Judge of the Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Division.
Gorgeous day. I really appreciate it, and it's a great sign because I think all of you are going to go out and vote. This morning I was in Trotwood and I met Miss Mary McDonald for the first time, the mayor of Trotwood, and I met her 2 granddaughters. And you know what message those granddaughters need to hear? Women have a seat at the table. You know what message we as a society sent to those little girls this week? Dr. Ford. Dr. Ford. Women are not listened to. Why are they not listened to? Because they're being judged by all men. Women are more than 50% of the population. Why do we not have a seat at the table? So, juvenile court in Montgomery County has never, ever had a woman judge. Not one. I am a woman, clearly. I am also married for nearly 20 years to my husband Adam, and we have 2 beautiful children. Charlie, who's 15, and Kate, who is almost 13. Charlie's going to homecoming. He's getting dressed right now. But I am here The reason why I'm here is because I believe it's our juvenile court. We heard a lot of my just now. It's not my juvenile court, it's our juvenile court. And if I'm elected, I will reach out into the community and hear what you need and what you want. I am highly qualified. I've been practicing in Montgomery County Juvenile Court for over 17 years. Unlike my opponent, I've been a prosecutor in the delinquency section. I've been a defense attorney, a custody attorney, and a guardian ad litem. I got a very, very fine education thanks to my parents. I grew up in Cincinnati, went to Walnut Hills, #1 school in the state of Ohio, and I graduated. I went on to UC, where I clerked for Senator John Glenn's office and the Ohio Attorney General's office. Then I went to GW Law School, one of the top law schools in the nation. And while I was there, I worked for the Department of Justice. Then I decided I wanted some trial experience, so I came back and interned for the Cincinnati Public Defender's Office. Worked at a civil litigation firm for 2.5 years in Cincinnati before my husband and I moved up and found our home here in Montgomery County. I want to serve you, I want to help you. I've seen our children in juvenile court. They need better education, they need better programs. They need an apprenticeship, mentorship program. Trades are not being used and not utilized enough. Send these children who don't like school, teach them a trade. Let them have some pride in themselves. We value college education so much. We send the message, if you don't go to college, you're not worth anything. That is wrong. You get a good paying job and you support yourself and you are worth everything. Thank you very much.
Give it up for DJ Dorsey! Tonight we're going to have a wonderful young speaker. This is what true leadership is really about. I'm so proud. This young man that's speaking this afternoon is the recipient of the 33rd Annual John E. Riley Award, which recognizes leadership on campus grounded in the Marionist values. He writes a blog, his most recent post entitled, "Do It for the Culture." He also wrote a piece called, "Why Cities Need Millennials." He is the president of Batu, Black Action Through Unity, Peers Mentorship, and a Dayton Civic Scholar. Give it up for Darius J. Bagnall.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for that introduction. It's truly an honor to be standing before you on today. I'm here for the same reason that all of you are here, and that is to make certain that come November, our voice is heard, to ensure that we understand what is at stake, and to remind us how far we have come not only as a country, but as a people. August 6th marked the 53rd anniversary of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. A law that was passed with the intention to give black and brown people the freedom to vote without racial discrimination. A law that was forced into existence by pressure from civil rights activists of the time. A law that is now being challenged in legislatures throughout the country. My point is simply this: voting should not be taken for granted. In fact, it is not at all a luxury. However, it is in fact a fundamental civic responsibility. So much so that those before us felt that the right to vote was worth enduring violence, was worth enduring hate, and worth enduring disrespect. In a 1957 speech entitled, "Give Us the Ballot," Dr. King said, and I quote, "So long as I do not firmly and irrevocably possess the right to vote, I do not possess myself. I cannot make up my mind. It is made up for me. I cannot live as a democratic citizen, observing the laws I have helped to enact. I can only submit to the edict of others." To Dr. King and his companions, the vote was and remains precious, even sacred. To us, it must mean the same. Our vote is our voice. It is our protest, it is our march, it is our act of defiance against the things that do not represent the best of this democracy. The most important office in our government is not president. It's not governor, it's not mayor, it's not congressman, it's not legislator. It is citizen. And we must exercise our power to its fullest and greatest potential. A decision not to vote is a decision to give your power away. A decision not to vote is a decision to silence your own voice. For it is unwise to speak loudly of your dissatisfaction if you are unwilling to raise your voice when it truly matters most. And I must say that there is not a generation that enjoys hearing the sound of their voice more than mine. Yet, in the last midterm election of 2014, a record low of 20% of millennials voted. And only 36% of eligible voters voted. Most recently, as we heard earlier in the 2018 primary election, Montgomery County, our county, had a voter turnout of only 19%. Might I suggest that there is no one election more or less important than another. Be it local, state, or federal government, it is time that we do better. So I ask you this question. How much do you care about your community? The future of our country depends on our vote. The future of the state depends on our vote, and the future of the city of Dayton depends on our vote. Despite the many issues facing America today, the greatest threat to our democracy is indifference. The feeling of powerlessness, the feeling of apathy. And while one person alone may not be capable of enacting great change, a community driven by the loyalty to progress can be the change. However, we must realize that this change will not happen at our preferred pace. A single election will not fix all of our problems. Nonetheless, better is worth fighting for. Change is happening even as I speak. Change that you may or may not disagree, may or may not agree with. For democracy continues with or without your participation. With or without our influence, with or without our voice, democracy goes on. Right now, there are more eligible voters in my generation than any other. The power is actually in our hands to make the difference if we so choose. So I encourage you to consider your values. Consider the policy issues that most deeply concern you. And I challenge you to ponder the past, the present, and the future, and to go out and rock the vote. Not just in this election, but in every election. Regardless of your interest or lack of interest in politics, your vote matters. My vote matters. Every vote come November will matter. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you very much. I really am so appreciative when I see young people like that. Makes me feel wonderful. We can pass the torch. Next, with the candidates, we have Carolyn Rice, County Commissioner.
It has been my great honor to serve as your Montgomery County Treasurer for the last nearly 12 years. Now, these have been incredibly challenging years, wouldn't you agree? But we've made it through the challenges, and during that, I've actually improved our business processes in our office, and we've protected your tax dollars. But I did more than that. As chair of the County Land Bank, I led the effort to bring in more than $26 million to renovate, remodel, remove blight, and to revitalize neighborhoods. And Dan had mentioned the Hope Center. The Land Bank played an original role in partnering with the City of Dayton and Omega CDC to take down those buildings. So we've already had an impact. Beyond that, when I came in, the foreclosure crisis was in full explosion, right? And a lot of people were losing their homes. What I did was I funded the foreclosure mediation program that supported anyone who got a foreclosure filing for 5 years. And as a result, we helped 1,250 families in this county stay in their homes. That makes a difference in people's lives. Now, I want to tell you about me before I was treasurer. I was born and raised here. My father was actually a teacher and principal in Dayton Public Schools. I started out in Dayton Public Schools. I graduated from Miami University with a degree in education. My first job out of college was to teach. I was a classroom teacher with special needs children. I went on to get my MBA at Wright State, and my first job after earning my MBA was to work for an environmental consulting firm down in Cincinnati. I later went on to hold positions at Reynolds & Reynolds and LexisNexis, and eventually I landed back at Wright State as the director of, I was the director of executive education in the School of Business. Now, you add that all up, and that is 30 years of business, education, and public service. I believe that my track record as the county treasurer, as well as all these jobs that I've held, make me uniquely qualified to be a very effective county commissioner. I will bring all of my knowledge, my experience, and my energy to tackle the wide spectrum of issues that we face in this county, like the opioid crisis, like creating better jobs, and doing something to make the jail a safer place. I would be totally honored to earn your vote on November 6th. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we're going to have Ms. Tasha Roundtree come and speak about issue 8.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hey. My name is Natasha Roundtree. I'm with Grassroot University of Michigan. I'm a resident of Dayton, Ohio, a native of Dayton, Ohio. The initiative I brought to the city was what we consider now issue 8. It is the decriminalization of marijuana. I brought this to the city to stop some of the tickets, to prevent you from seeing some of the judges. Without those tickets, now you won't be charged with possession. The minute you have a possessions ticket, you cannot use financial aid to go to Sinclair, to go to Central State. We're going to stop this before it becomes an exasperated epidemic. At this point, now we can work with some of the students before they get in trouble. Now we can look to see, why are you even using marijuana? If it's for medical purposes, let's use it for medical purposes. If it's for partying, let's party. If you're an adult. If you're an adult. I never wrote this for recreation. I only wrote this for patients, to keep them safe, because the state of Ohio has messed up the medical marijuana patient. I wrote this for people so that African American men can stop being arrested for this and now can go to college and now work in the laboratory that's coming in your neighborhood. I didn't write this for you to party and kick it. I wrote it so if you're going to go to school, you can become a doctor, you can become a lawyer and help patients, not just for you to kick it. Thank you.
I want to give a shout out again to some of our sponsors tonight. Thank you again, Sinclair Community College, BIG, The Next Wave. Thank you very much to Rise Up. Next is Mr. Will Smith. Speaking on issue 1, Dr. Mercer on issue 1.
afternoon.
Good afternoon.
First of all, I want to give thanks for everybody that's here. And I want you guys to remember that you are the vehicle that we need to move. Our people here are the vehicle that we need to move. And I know a lot of people have either heard about issue 1 and have had questions about issue 1. So I really want to lay that out. First of all, I want to be first to say that issue 1 is special to me because it came from people. This isn't something that came from Columbus. This isn't something that came from on high. This came from people coming together and realizing that we had a problem in our communities. And that problem that we have is not only do we have an opioid epidemic, we have a criminalization epidemic. We have an epidemic that stretches a lot farther before people were even talking about an opioid epidemic. We have people locked up right now for crack. We have people locked up from the 80s and 90s for other drugs that people now are getting attention for. And so what issue 1 does, it doesn't just hide those kind of things. Because what issue 1 does is not only will it create a change from a low-level felonies for possessions, those will become misdemeanors. So those low-level possession felonies that have had people locked up for 20, 25 years, because that's what it really was back then, we can't cut those corners and not say it like that. That would become misdemeanors, and it wouldn't be just now, but that's retroactively. So people that are in jail right now could go approach a judge and say, you know what, this passed. Now those felonies that I have are now misdemeanors, and so that can cut down that time. Also what it does, it creates graduated responses for probation violations. Right now, I know people in the community that, they might have gotten out, served their time, and now they're on probation, and they missed a meeting. They failed a drug test. They didn't get a job in time, and they get sent back off to jail. Issue 1 would change that. Issue 1 would make it illegal for them to go back to jail for a probation violation that is not a new crime. That's a great thing. Also, what issue 1 does is it creates a program within our incarceration system where our inmates would be afforded a half-day credit for every day that they're in an educational program, a rehab program, a work program. So our people that are locked up could work to get themselves out in a shorter time. And then all that wraps into is money saved. Because we can never forget that all the people that are locked up right now, it sucks our tax dollars. Right now, as a state, we pay over $1.8 billion a year to warehouse people. Because we can't lie to ourselves and say we're rehabilitating people and we're holding people accountable and things like that. We're warehousing people. And so we want to get those people out, and we want to use that money that is saved to go back into our communities for drug treatment and trauma recovery, because that money has to go to our communities and has to go to our people. So issue 1, well, those 4 things, we want to create those low-level misdemeanors to take those felonies away from our records. We want to put that money into programs. We want to make sure that our people locked up have programs to get out, and we want to make sure we're not sending people back to jail for lack of new crimes. Thank you, and I hope you all join me in supporting this movement.
Productions, LLC, Dayton Urban League, the NAACP Youth Council, Northwest Priority Board, Urban Citizens for Social Justice, For Our Future Ohio, members of the Panhellenic Council, thank you for your support, for your sponsorship. Next candidate speaker up is Rebecca Taylor.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Taylor, and I'm running for Ohio House of Representatives, 40th District. Thank you. That's Northern Montgomery County. Sorry, I was walking there. That's Northern Montgomery County, Phillipsburg, Union, Vandalia, Inglewood, Huber Heights, Riverside to Springfield Street, and East Dayton, 3rd and 5th Street to Kiowee Street. A little bit about myself. I have a sister with a developmental disability who taught me at a very young age how to advocate. We were only 13 months apart, and in the 70s and early 80s, what happened was people didn't know about disabilities, but I did. And I learned how to keep my sister safe. I became an advocate at a very young age. With that, I moved on professionally and worked with adults with developmental disabilities, intellectual disabilities, and mental health. I went back to school and became a rehabilitation counselor and mental health counselor, and I started teaching at Wright State University. With that, I teach others how to advocate and how to work with people who have disabilities and who are homeless and are veterans and are part of our community, because we need to walk next to people and help and show them where there is opportunity so that we can further our lives. So when the opportunity came for running, I didn't see anybody that represented my views or my clients or my students. And I know we can make a change. And we all know the serenity prayer, right? Help me to know the wisdom of what I can change. Rock the vote. You get out and you vote and you make the change. And this is what we're all here for. Because we can make a change. And start electing people who represent you. And if you don't see somebody there representing you, you run. And you get out there and you pound the pavement like the rest of us and join us. You can join us now as volunteers, and next time you run and I pound the pavement for you. So thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Rock the vote!
Also to mention, if you are not registered yet, out in the atrium, they are taking voter registration. So just to let you know. Next, Brandon McLean, County Reporter.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brandon McLean, and I'm your Montgomery County Reporter. I'm your only African-American county elected official who came in office after the passing of my mentor, our friend, the late great public servant, Willis C. Blackshear Sr. Prior to becoming your Montgomery County Recorder, I served as a magistrate and acting judge in Dayton Municipal Court. Prior to that, as an attorney. Whether it's been as an attorney, whether it's been as a magistrate and acting judge, or even now as your Montgomery County Recorder, public service has been a calling that I have unwaveringly and continuously answered throughout my life. It's a calling I'm still answering right now. I've been standing up as a backbone for our community and a voice for voiceless for as long as I've had my voice. I stood up most recently when I came into office just in March 2018. We had issues where some of our most vulnerable, our seniors, many of our property owners were having their homes taken away from them. I stood up and I implemented a program that allowed them to be proactive as opposed to reactive to protect something that they worked their whole life to have and pass it on to somebody that they wanted to, that being their home. And I also worked to bring an individual to justice who had stolen over 50 houses right here in our county. To bring that individual to justice. Those are two initiatives, but those weren't the only ones. Just 3 weeks ago, I implemented a program for our veterans to ensure that our veterans, people who were prepared to give their best, and they are our best, and didn't ask for anything in return, I ensured that they were able to be connected to the services that they had earned. Whether that be for health care, whether that be for burial benefits, whether that be for service credit, whether that be for storage discounts. I ensured that they had a form of identification, which, might I add, can be used for access to the voting polls. That is free for all of our veterans. Free. Something that they can utilize to gain access to benefits that should have never been denied from the get-go. These are the type of initiatives that I've implemented, this being in my first 6 months of administration. So I want you to understand this. If I've done this in my first 6 months, what does the future look like for the next 2 years? From my perspective, it looks bright. I'm going to ensure that it remains bright. I'm going to continue to be a voice for the voiceless and a backbone for our community. I'm going to continue to stand up for those people who can't stand up on their own. And as I stand up, I ask you to keep me in your prayers. Keep me uplifted. And when I stand up for the person that can't stand up for them, I need you to stand up and have my back. And I'll continue to have yours. I'll continue to advocate for change and progression in our community because that's what we need. That's the only way that we proceed and progress forwards if we do it together. And I'm gonna make sure that we do it together. I'm gonna be leading the charge, but that only happens is if you stand beside me. I'm Brandon McClain, I'm the Montgomery County Recorder. And one more thing I want to say. A lot of people said some things about voting. I want this to be very clear. Your voice is your vote. You cannot allow it to be denied, ignored, smothered, or otherwise great by people who need to hear it the most. There's so much evidence of what happens when we sit on the sideline. It exists right outside this building. We have to make sure, we have to ensure that we are the type of change that not only that we need, but that we deserve. We deserve health care. Everyone does. We deserve safety. We deserve security. Those things will not progress and change if we don't work for those changes. So I want to be one of those voices that helps us get that change. And I can't do it alone. So as I'm out there being that voice, I ask that you continue to be on my back. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce Ms. Charlotte McGuire, member of State Board of Education.
Good afternoon. I want to thank Neighborhood Over Politics and their partners for sponsoring this. And I'd like to start off my comments by saying, we all stop living when we become silent about what matters. Your vote matters, our children matters, and education matters. That's right. I am Charlotte McGuire, and I am honored to have served for your state school board representative for almost 2 years now. During that time, I have worked with fellow members, number one, to reduce high-stake testing of our children in Ohio because the test does not define our children. We are currently working on report card reform, AF, for your schools in your district. Guess what? Because a report card doesn't define your school or your district. We have developed a 5-year plan that says each child, our future. That every child in Ohio is challenged, prepared, and empowered to succeed and thrive. Not just succeed, but thrive. I want her to be able to put food on her table. I want her to be able to put a roof over her head. I want her to pursue her destiny, her chosen path of what she wants to achieve in life as a world-class leader. And why do I know that? Because education is the equalizer. And I can say that because I grew up in segregated Memphis, Tennessee. And I was educated in a school system that was steeped in racism and unequal opportunities. And I had teachers who said to me, Charlotte, you can be anything you want to be. Hard work and dedication will pay off. I had parents that told me education is the key to my freedom and my independence. I want that same freedom for my granddaughter, our children in Montgomery County, and children across this state. I came to Ohio to earn a BS degree in business administration from Central State University. I did graduate study in public administration at the University of Dayton because I wanted to be a public servant. No one can do a job by themselves. I am a collaborative leader, and I have over 40 years of governmental and nonprofit leadership experience that resulted, number one, in the St. Vincent Hotel for the homeless, for the Emergency Resource Bank for the hungry, for also Reclaiming Futures, helping teens overcome alcohol, drugs, and crime, where Montgomery County became a model for the nation, funded by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation out of Princeton, New Jersey. I am on the state school board, number one, to be a voice for our children's success because they have the inherent potential to succeed. They need options and opportunities that address their unique needs and aspiration, because no two children are alike. We need a community vision with partners, because schools cannot do it alone. We need excelling schools and teachers that are supported and resourced to be sure that our children have every opportunity to succeed. I'm counting on you to join me and vote to keep Charlotte McGuire as your state school board representative for your voice for our children's success. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more walk-in candidates? Let's give a round of applause to all the candidates. Thank you. I want to introduce, first of all, I want to thank all the sponsors again. Thank you, DJ Dorsey, for being here. Mr. Muhammad down there doing the scene taping. All the volunteers and sponsors that I mentioned. And Neighborhood Over Politics for throwing the event. This is the second annual Rock the Vote event with Jamaica Garrison, Joelle Jones, and Shanice Carter-Shaw.
Thank you guys for coming out. Wonderful event. We still will have networking in the atrium area where some of the candidates will have material and literature that is set up so you can ask additional questions. Even if a candidate does not have a table, please stick around because there may be individuals here, your constituents, who want to ask you some more pointed questions if you're able to stay around. I want to give a shout out to Black Sage Production right here, who's Facebook recording live for us. Because all of the candidates did a great job, and we're hopeful more Montgomery County, state of Ohio representatives will see this, residents will see it to enhance their education. There is an area too when you go out, and our volunteers can help you. I want the young ladies aspiring greatness to stand up. If you can come up here. A mentoring group started by Ms. Stroud here, and they just do community service events every month. So if you're looking for an active participatory group that wants to get involved in their community, this is it. And they're actually a lot more than Thank you so much for agreeing to come out and continue to shed your leadership light and knowledge and education. And we want to make sure that, again, there's a room out there that has light refreshments. So please, once you leave here, take part of the light refreshments. Thank you again for our sponsors, Northwest Priority Board, Representative Ezra Knox in the building. We have our different, I apologize, we've had so many, the NAACP Youth Council, Urban Citizens for Social Justice for a Higher Future, Sinclair Community College, McDaniel Construction, Sigma Gamma Rho, Delta Sigma Theta, Kappa Alpha Psi. So we just want to thank everybody because it takes a village. And so when you guys leave here, please, again, take part in the refreshments, continue to network, and after which that concludes our rally. Thank you. Take out your phones. I forgot about the survey. Take out your phone. For us to keep doing this, we have to get your feedback. So if you guys can, just type this into your URL, www.surveymonkey.com/r/75G862G. And the survey link is also on our Facebook page. You can click it. It's just a short 9-question survey. Give us your feedback. Let us know what you thought about the event. We keep this data so that we can continue to apply for grants and those things that help us fund things like this. So if you could do that, that would be great before you guys leave, and enjoy the rest of your day. And I think that's it. Thank you. DJ Dorsey, can you take us out while they listen to this survey?